The wind screamed through the Colorado Rockies like a furious beast that wanted blood. Snow blew sideways, thick and blinding, and anyone caught outside would freeze before they found their way home. Samuel McBride pushed through the knee-deep drifts with a string of rabbits hanging from his belt. His buffalo coat was stiff with ice. His beard was white with frost. But he kept walking. A man living alone in the mountains didn't get the luxury of waiting out storms. His cabin appeared through the blowing snow, built tight against a granite cliff. Sam had built every inch of it with his own hands. A rope bed, a rough-cut table, shelves filled with food he'd gathered through summer and fall. Nothing fancy, nothing wasted, just enough to stay alive. That was all Sam ever wanted anymore. He'd been alone in these mountains for 12 years, 12 long winters. 12 years of choosing the cold over the pain of remembering what he'd lost. His parents gone to sickness, his brother buried far from home, and the woman he once loved choosing another man over him. He had walked away from the world and never looked back. Inside, he hung the rabbits near the door and stirred the fire until it burned bright again. He poured coffee and settled at the table, ready to clean his rifle. Outside, snow fell harder. December storms here didn't forgive mistakes. He was halfway through oiling the barrel when a sound cut through the storm. A knock. Soft at first, then desperate. Sam froze, every muscle locked tight. No one came this high in winter, not unless they were lost or dangerous. The knock came again, followed by a voice, a woman's voice. "Please, please, is anyone there? We'll die out here." Sam stood slowly, revolver already in his hand. He moved to the door without a sound. "Who's there?" he called. Another voice answered, weaker than the first. "Sir, please, we need shelter." Sam lifted the heavy bar and opened the door only a crack, rifle ready. What he saw made him lower it an inch. Two women stood on his doorstep, covered head to toe in snow. One younger, maybe 30, with wet dark hair stuck to her face. She was holding up an older woman who seemed barely conscious. Their dresses were soaked. Their hands were blue with cold. Their bundles were small enough to tell him this was everything they owned. "Please," the younger woman begged. "She can't walk anymore." For a long moment Sam didn't move. His life worked because it was simple, quiet, alone. Letting strangers in meant trouble, meant questions, meant danger. But the older woman's head sagged. Her lips had turned the color of ash. "Get inside," Sam said gruffly, stepping back. Relief broke over the younger woman's face as she guided her companion in. The blast of warm air hit them, and they both trembled violently. Sam turned away to give them privacy. "Get those wet things off. Wrap up in blankets." "I'll get hot water." He worked the stove while listening to the rustle of frozen cloth. When he finally turned, the women were huddled by the fire, wrapped in elk hide blankets. Their skin was pale. Their hands shook. But they were alive. "Thank you," the younger woman whispered. "I'm Elizabeth Harper. This is Martha Coleman. We're widows, sir. Trying to reach Denver." "Denver's 3 days from here in good weather," Sam said as he handed them steaming cups. "What were you doing in these mountains?" Elizabeth swallowed hard. "The town of Silver Creek forced us out. They said we brought bad luck. My husband died in a mine collapse. Martha's husband was shot in a card dispute. People turned against us." Sam felt anger rise in his chest. He'd seen it before. A frontier town could be kind one moment and cruel the next. "You're safe here for now," he said. Martha looked up at him, her voice barely there. "You've saved our lives." Sam cleared his throat, uncomfortable with thanks. "Storm might last days. You'll stay until it's safe." Elizabeth stared at her empty cup. "We can't pay you, but we can work." "I didn't ask for payment," Sam said. "Just rest." The women nodded, exhausted. As they ate rabbit stew, Sam found himself studying them. These weren't troublemakers or thieves. These were decent women, beaten down by life and winter, and despite every wall Sam had built inside himself, something cracked just a little. "I never had a wife," he said suddenly, surprising even himself. Elizabeth looked at him, eyes soft with understanding. "Some men choose solitude," she said. "Some men don't get the chance at all." Sam looked away. He didn't want kindness, didn't trust it. But when the storm howled outside and the women shivered near his fire, he knew something had already changed inside him. And he didn't know yet if that was salvation or the start of trouble he could never turn back from. Morning came slow and pale through the cabin window. Sam had slept in his chair by the fire, keeping watch. He'd given the women his bed and built a blanket curtain for their privacy. The storm had buried the world outside in deep white silence. Elizabeth stepped out first, her dark hair braided neatly, her cheeks warm again from the fire's heat. "You should have woken us, Mr. McBride. You look exhausted." Sam stretched his stiff back. "I have slept in worse places." Martha soon followed, her steps still slow but stronger than the night before. She sat in Sam's chair as if she'd taught lessons from it for years. Her gray eyes watched him with sharp understanding. "Mr. McBride," she said gently, "Elizabeth told me what you said last night, that you never had a wife." Sam stiffened. "That's personal, ma'am." "Everything about our situation is personal," Martha said softly. "We're alive because of you. And you're alone because life dealt you harsher cards than most." Sam didn't reply. He wasn't ready for the way her words hit him. Elizabeth began cooking breakfast, moving easily around his small kitchen. Sam wasn't used to anyone touching his things, let alone making his cabin feel lived in. When she placed plates in front of him, she added, "We truly don't want to be a burden." "You're not," Sam said gruffly. "Storm's too bad for travel. When it clears, we'll figure things out." But as the day passed, Sam realized something strange. He no longer wanted the storm to clear. 3 days passed inside that tiny cabin, and something unspoken grew between the three of them. Not romance, not yet, but trust born from surviving the wilderness together. Elizabeth cooked. Martha mended Sam's shirts and organized his shelves. Sam hunted and chopped wood. They lived like a family without ever using the word. On the 4th morning, Sam returned from checking his traps to find Elizabeth struggling with a frozen water bucket. She slipped, and he reached out on instinct. Their hands touched. She jerked back as if burned, face turning scarlet. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "No harm done," Sam said quietly. But inside he felt that spark, the dangerous kind, the kind that softened walls. Martha watched them with a knowing look he did not appreciate. Later that night, the storm worsened. The wind slammed against the cabin, and icicles shattered off the roof like breaking glass. They sat close to the fire for warmth when Elizabeth pulled a wooden flute from her bundle. "I kept this," she said softly. "It's all I have left of my husband." "Play," Martha urged. Elizabeth lifted it to her lips and began a slow, aching tune. The sound filled the cabin like a prayer. Sam felt something shift inside him, tender, painful, alive. When she finished, he surprised himself. "Play another." Elizabeth smiled for the first time since she arrived. She played a lighter tune, one Martha hummed along to, and soon Sam found his foot tapping against the floor. For a moment, the storm outside didn't matter. The fear didn't matter. The past didn't matter. There was only music, and the way Elizabeth's face softened in the firelight. That peace shattered the next morning. Sam stepped outside at dawn, squinting at the snow piled high around the cabin. That was when he heard it. The crunch of hooves. Men. He hurried inside and grabbed his rifle. "Stay back," he ordered the women. "Don't speak unless I tell you." He opened the door just wide enough to see 3 riders approaching. One he recognized, Jake Morrison from Silver Creek. The others wore hard expressions and carried rifles. "Samuel McBride," a rough voice shouted. "We're looking for 2 women, thieves." Martha gasped. Sam didn't move. "Haven't seen any women. Storm would have killed anyone traveling." "Funny," the deputy drawled. "We found scraps of dresses near the creek." Tracks pointed this way. Sam's jaw clenched. "My cabin is private land." "Not when you're hiding criminals," the deputy barked. "We'll search inside." The younger rider dismounted, stepping toward the cabin. Sam fired into the snow at the man's feet. The man jumped back, cursing. Sam didn't raise his voice. "Next shot won't be a warning." "You're making a mistake, McBride," the deputy shouted. "Harboring fugitives is a crime." "Come back with a real lawman," Sam replied coldly. "Till then, stay off my mountain." The men retreated, but their threats echoed through the pines as they disappeared. Inside, Elizabeth was pale. Martha's hands trembled. "They'll be back," Martha said softly. "I know," Sam replied, "but you need to tell me the truth. Did you steal anything?" Quote, "No," Elizabeth cried. "We took nothing. They wanted someone to blame, and we were alone." Sam believed them. He felt the weight of a choice settle on his shoulders. Heavy, final, dangerous. "You're not facing them alone," he said. "I made that choice the moment I lied to them." Elizabeth stared at him, eyes shining. "Why risk everything for us?" Sam looked from Elizabeth to Martha, then to the snow-covered mountains beyond the window. He didn't know how to phrase it gently. "Because for 12 years I didn't care if I lived or died," he said simply. "You two reminded me what it feels like to care again." Martha placed a hand over his. "You've found a reason to live again, Mr. McBride," she said softly. "And we found a reason to hope." Outside, the storm still raged. Inside, something even stronger was beginning. The storm broke on the 7th morning, leaving the world buried in fresh snow so deep it looked untouched by human hands. Sam stepped outside with his rifle, scanning the ridgelines. The mountains were quiet, too quiet. He knew the men from Silver Creek hadn't given up. They'd return with more riders, more guns, more anger. Inside the cabin, Elizabeth helped Martha lace her boots. Martha's ankle had improved, but she still winced when she moved too quickly. "We can't stay here," Sam finally said when he stepped back inside. "Not after yesterday. They'll come looking again, and with more men." Elizabeth looked up sharply. "Then what do we do?" Sam paced the cabin. "There's an old cave system high up the mountain. I stocked supplies there years ago. If we leave at first light, we might make it before they find our trail." "It's dangerous," Martha warned. "So is staying," Sam replied. There was no arguing with that. They left at dawn, Sam breaking trail while Elizabeth helped Martha walk. Snow swallowed their legs with every step. The mountain fought them, but they climbed higher, pushing through the cold that bit at their skin and lungs. After hours of struggling, Martha slipped on an icy rock and cried out, falling hard. Sam rushed to her side. "You all right?" She shook her head, pain twisting her face. "Ankle." "We're not leaving you," Elizabeth said fiercely. Sam crouched and turned his back to Martha. "Get on." "But." "Get on," he repeated. She obeyed, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. Elizabeth carried both packs, determination written across her tired face. Together, they climbed. When they neared the ridge, Sam saw dark shapes moving across the snow far below. "Riders." "They're tracking us," he said quietly. Elizabeth counted. 7, maybe 8. They didn't have much time. Sam led them to an abandoned hunting camp. It wasn't much. Just a lean-to and a fire pit. But it could serve as a decoy. They made fresh tracks around it, kept a smoky fire burning, and left signs of staying put. Just before dusk, the distant sound of horses reached them. The riders stopped far enough away to avoid Sam's rifle, but close enough to watch. "They think we're settling in," Sam whispered. "Will they attack tonight?" Elizabeth asked. "No, not in this snow. They'll wait. Plan. Think they're smart." Martha nodded. "Then we slip out while they watch the wrong place." That night, after hours of fake noise and movement, they packed what little they had and slipped behind the lean-to into the dark woods. They moved slow and silent, Martha leaning heavily on a makeshift crutch Sam carved from a branch. The night was black, with no moon to guide them. They moved by instinct, trusting Sam's knowledge of the mountain, until the mine entrance finally appeared, a dark shape against the stone. "Inside," Sam urged. They entered, and Sam rolled a large boulder across the entrance, not enough to stop the riders, but enough to slow them. Deep inside the cave, candles lit the narrow stone walls. The space opened into a hidden cavern with a small spring trickling from the rocks. "We're safe for now," Sam said. But he didn't believe they would get long. By morning, the pursuers had reached the mine entrance. Their voices echoed faintly inside the stone tunnels. Carlson's voice carried loudest. "We've got them trapped! Bring tools!" "We'll smoke them out if we have to." Elizabeth's hands shook. Martha placed hers over them. "Together," she whispered. "We face this together." Sam searched the cave again and found a narrow back passage. "This leads out the far side of the ridge, but it's tight. Martha might not make it through." "I will," Martha insisted. "I've come too far to die in a cave." The crawl was brutal. Martha grit her teeth until tears ran down her face. Elizabeth crawled behind her, pushing when needed. Sam led the way, carrying their supplies in his teeth when the tunnel was too tight. Hours later, they emerged into weak gray daylight. But they weren't safe yet. Shots rang out. Snow exploded near their feet. Sam jerked around. Men were pouring down the slope, having found the back exit sooner than expected. "Run!" Sam shouted. He grabbed Martha and hauled her forward. Elizabeth ran beside him. The forest was just ahead when another bullet struck the tree beside Martha's head. Voices yelled behind them, "Stop! You can't escape!" Sam set Martha down behind a fallen tree and raised his rifle. Elizabeth took his revolver. Martha lifted his small backup gun. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of fight. Gunfire cracked across the mountainside. Sam hit one rider. Elizabeth hit another in the leg, her hands shaking but steady where it mattered. Martha fired her derringer and drove back a man trying to flank them. But the enemy kept coming. Sam's rifle clicked empty. Elizabeth fired her last shot. They were cornered. "Samuel McBride," Carlson shouted, "give us the women and we'll let you walk away." "You'll get them over my dead body," Sam shouted back. "That can be arranged." Before Carlson's men could close in, a deep, thundering voice exploded through the trees. "What in blazes is going on in my mountain?" Josiah Wells burst through the forest with 3 armed trappers behind him. His buffalo rifle boomed, sending Carlson's men scrambling. "Sam, get those ladies down!" Josiah roared. Within minutes, the tide turned. Carlson retreated, dragging his wounded with him. "This isn't over!" he shouted. "Oh, it's over!" Josiah growled. "Come back and I'll bury you myself." At Josiah's cabin, after Sarah Clement and her children found refuge, after Silver Creek justice crumbled after the truth finally came out, Sam stood before Elizabeth and Martha with his hat in his hands. Life had taken everything